I want to start with something that happens to me about 4 years ago. I was sitting in my car outside a petrol station at 11 at night. I just had a worse argument with my partner I had for years. I was shaking. I needed to talk to someone. I sat there going through my phone. I had 200 contacts and I couldn't think of a single person I could call. Not because I didn't have friends. I did. I have guys I've known for 15, 20 years. But somewhere along the way, and I couldn't tell you exactly when, we drifted into this version of friendship where we liked each other's photos and say we should catch up soon, but never actually did. And I sat there in my car for 40 minutes before I drove home. That was the night I realized something has gone badly wrong, not just for me, for most of the men I knew. And here's what the data tells us. According to a survey on American Life, 15% of men now say they have no close friends at all. In 1990, that number was 15. It was 3%, sorry. The share of men with 6 or more close friends has collapsed from 55% in 1995 to just 27% today. This isn't a small shift. This is one of the fastest social changes we've seen in modern history, and almost nobody is talking about it. Today we are going to talk about it. We're going to look why it happens, the real reasons, not the easy ones, and then we're going to get practical, because knowing the problem isn't enough. We'll come with some examples to what you actually can do to change it. So let's start with why. And I want to be honest with you. Some of this is going to land. The first reason is the most obvious, but we underestimate how powerful it is. Your 20s, most of your men were roughly in the same place as you. Single or newly coupled. No kids or just thinking about it. Similar jobs, similar nights out, similar problems. You had a shared context. You had things to talk about because your life were living in a similar way. Then you hit your 30s and everything fogs. One of you get married, one doesn't. One has kid at 31, one has them at 38. One does, one decides not to. One gets a corporate job and moves to a bigger city. One goes freelance and stay put. One gets divorced. One buys a house and suddenly that's all he talks about. And here's the thing no one says out loud. When your life looks different, it gets harder to relate. Not because you stop caring about each other, because you don't have the same shared experience to hang on to. And the conversation kind of changes, or it gets harder to relate. You see your mates with kids and you don't understand why he just can't come out anymore. He sees you single and free and feels like you are from a different world. And slowly, without either of you making a decision to pull away, the call gets less frequent. The text gets more subsurface level, and months go by before even either of you noticed. The second reason is one men don't like to admit. Most men get into a serious relationship. Their friends' network doesn't just shrink, it often collapses. Because suddenly, someone at home is there you can talk to. Someone who asks how your day was. Someone who you do things with at weekends. And it feels like enough. The problem is, you put everything into one person. Your companionship, your emotional outlet, your social plan, your sense of belonging. It all goes through her. Research backs this up. When men are asked who they would turn to if they were going through something difficult, the majority name their partner. Just one person. Women, by contrast, typically name several friends, family, colleagues. I'm not saying that's wrong. Having a partner you're close to is a good thing. But when they become your only source of emotional connection, you make yourself incredibly fragile. Because if that relationship hits a rough patch or ends, you're left almost completely alone. And by that point, your friendship has atrophied to where you just can't pick them back up. And that's why a breakup in your 30s or 40s can hit so much harder than one in your 20s. You're not just losing a relationship. It's realizing you got nothing else to fall back on. The third reason is structural, and it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. Men are taught to maintain behaviors that keep friendships alive. Women tend to be better at this. They check in, they make plans, they notice when someone has gone quiet, and they reach out. It's not biology, it's conditioning. Men are raised to be independent, not to need people, to figure things out on their own. And so when a friendship starts to require effort, when someone doesn't reply for a few weeks, when plans fell through twice in a row, when it feels awkward because it's too much time has passed, men just don't chase it. They just let it fade. And then they tell themselves they're just not that sociable. They're growing apart. But that's not what happened. What happened is that no one modeled their behavior of tending their friendships. Nobody told you that friendships in adulthood are like plants. They don't survive on their own. They need regular, deliberate attention. A study in 2023 found that a majority of men agreed with this statement. No one really knows me well. Think about that. These aren't hermits. These are men with phones, with workplaces, with families, with lives full of people. And still, no one really knows them. The fourth reason is environmentally. Men friendships have always been built around doing things together. Men don't typically call each other up for a chat. They show up to the same training session, the same five-a-side, the same pub, the same poker night. Friendship happening by doing. Socialists called it the space where this happenings is the third place. Not home, not work, but informal social spaces between. The local, the gym, the club, the regular spot. Over the last 2 decades, those places has quietly vanished. Pubs has closed. Sports clubs has shrunk. Leisure time have moved inside. And what has replaced the pub with your mates on a Friday night? A sofa and a streaming service. I'm not being nostalgic here. I'm pointing to something real. The infrastructure that used to hold male friendship together has eroded. And we haven't replaced it with anything meaningful. We replace it with physical presence with digital presence. WhatsApp groups, social media, gaming together online, and told ourselves that counts. It doesn't, or at least not in the same way. Okay, here's the part I want you to pay attention to, because everything I just described can be changed. Not with grand gestures, not with big reckonings, with small, specific, consistent actions. Let me give you 7 of them. The first one is simple, and I mean it. Do this today after you finish watching. Think of one person you drifted from, someone who you generally liked, but you haven't spoken to probably in 6 months or more, and send them a message. Not a voice note. They won't listen to it. Not a meme, a real message. Something like, "Mate, I've been thinking. It's been too long. How are you actually doing?" That's it. That's the whole thing. What you'll find is that almost every time they respond in relief, because they felt it too. They just weren't going to be the one saying it first. Someone has to go first, and it might as well be you. The reason this works is because the biggest barrier to reconnect is inertia. The longer you leave it, the more awkward it feels to reach out. A single text breaks that. You don't need to explain yourself or apologize for the gap. Just reach out like it's normal, because it's a real friendship, it is. Here's the most important thing you can do, and almost no men do it. Set up one annual get-together with a group of your closest mates, the same time every year, and give it a theme or a structure, so it actually happens. I want to be specific here, because we should all get together is now a friendship, is how friendship dies. Everyone agrees, no one books anything. Months passes, that's the difference. What makes it work is three things: a fixed time, a structure, and someone who owns it. Fixed times mean the same slot every year. The first Saturday of November, the weekend after football season starts, your mate's birthday weekend in March, something that goes into the calendar automatically. Structure means is not just meet at the pub. Give it something: a golf day, a poker night, a weekend away somewhere cheap, a fantasy football draft, a cooking competition where everyone brings a dish from a different country. The theme doesn't need to be clever. It just needs to give people something to do together. Because as I said earlier, male friendships are built on what we do together. And someone owns it. This is critical. If everyone is equally responsible, no one is responsible. Rotate if you want, but someone sends the date, books the things, chases the people who hasn't confirmed. I know a group of 5 men who do a terrible film night once a year. They rent a house for a weekend, each person nominates one generally awful film, and they watch them all together. That's it. They've been doing it for 9 years. 3 of them have said it's the thing they look forward to almost every year. The theme is just an excuse. What you're actually doing is making sure you see each other. This one thing sounds obvious, but almost no one does it. Stop relying on spontaneity. It doesn't work in your 30s. People have kids, demanding jobs, partners with their own social lives. The window for who's free tonight is essentially closed. What works is recurring pre-booked time, a standing arrangement. The first Thursday of the month, 5 aside. Last Sunday of every month, lunch with your old mates. Once a quarter, dinner with a couple you always say you will see. These doesn't need to be big. They need to be in the diary. When something is recurring, it stops requiring a decision every time. It just becomes what you do. The men who keep their friendship going in their 30s and 40s are almost all men who have done this. Not because they're more organized, because they stop leaving it to chance. One of the best things you can do with a specific friendship you want to maintain is find a shared anchor. Something you do together regularly that gives friendship a reason to keep going. It could be running a route you do together once a week, a podcast you both listen to and message about, a shared investment in something completely stupid like a fantasy sports league. The content almost doesn't matter. What matters is that you create a regular contact and you give you something to talk about. Because here's the truth. A lot of men don't know how just to have a chat. It feels performative or forced without a reason for being together. By giving 2 men a task, a game, a shared project, a problem to solve, and all of a sudden the conversation flows naturally. Use that. Work with how men actually connect, not how you think they should. One of the quiet killers of male friendship is the expectation that it has to be a big thing. We wait until we can do it properly, until we can find a full evening, a whole weekend, the right restaurant, the right time. And because that perfect window never quite arrives, we see each other twice a year or feel vaguely guilty about the rest of the time. Lower the bar. A 20-minute walk counts. A coffee before work counts. A voice note while you're driving counts. Showing up to watch a match at someone's place for 90 minutes counts. You don't need to solve the whole friendship thing in one meeting. Just need regular, low-stake contact. That's what builds closeness over time. Not the big occasional big event. The small, frequent presence. This might be the most important practical shift you can make. Stop waiting to be invited. Being the person who makes things happen. Most friends are sitting around waiting for someone else to sort something out. And because everyone is waiting, nothing gets sorted. The friend group that used to see each other every week now sees each other at funerals. I'm not being dramatic. That's just how it plays out. Be the person who sends a date. Be the person who books a table. Be the person who starts a group chat with an actual plan. Not we should do something, but I got tickets for this one on the 14th. Who is in? This takes maybe 5 minutes of effort, and the return on it, in terms of connection, in terms of feeling your friendship are alive, are enormous. Most men are relieved when someone else steps up. Let it be you. The last one is the hardest, but sometimes the most necessary. If there's a friendship you genuinely lost, not just drifted from, but lost, sometimes you need to name it. Not dramatically, just honestly. I miss having you around. I don't really know how we felt out of contact, but I'd like to change that. Men find this almost impossible to say, because it feels like you're vulnerable, because we are not supposed to need things from other men. Because what if the other person doesn't feel the same way? But in my experience, they almost always do. They've just been waiting for someone to say it first. Friendship you think is gone might just be dormant. One honest sentence, and it might be all what it needed or takes. I want to finish with something I think is important. The male loneliness epidemic is real. The stats are stark. I don't think it's because men don't want to connect. I think it's because nobody ever told us how to tend to it. We were handed a set of social tools that worked great when we were 22. Shared circumstances, spontaneous plans, third places, proximity. Then life changed around us, and we never updated the tools. This is fixable. Not all at once. Not with some grand intervention of who you are. Just with small, consistent choices. Text someone today. Put something in the diary. Show up. Be the one who makes things happen. Because the alternative, looking up at 50 and realize you have no one, that's not something you drift into by bad luck. It is something that happens when nobody chooses to fight for it. You can choose differently. I'm James. This is Mind and Men. I'll see you in the next one.